as Iran throws a cluster missile curveball. Is Benjamin Netanyahu now facing a defense dilemma that Israel's shield was never built for? With Iranian cluster warheads forcing hard choices on every launch, how does the Israeli army decide when to fire and when to hold back its precious interceptors? As these cluster munitions slip fragments past Israel's layered defenses, is BB discovering that even Iron Dome, David's Sling, and Arrow can be left looking helpless? And with reports of Arrow 3 stocks under pressure, is Israel now torn on the most basic question in missile defense: to fire or not to fire, when every interceptor counts? Israel's missile defense doctrine is now facing unprecedented internal pressure, according to multiple recent Israeli assessments and defense community reports. This concern was formally highlighted in an Israeli defense report that was published on March 21, underscoring growing alarm at senior levels. Israel is actively considering whether the Arrow 3 interceptor should be designated as the primary option against Iranian ballistic missiles in future engagements. This internal debate specifically focuses on how best to defend against potential Iranian ballistic missile attacks that carry cluster warheads aimed at wide-area damage. Arrow 3 was jointly developed by Israel Aerospace Industries and Boeing. It is an exo-atmospheric anti-ballistic missile interceptor designed to engage threats outside the Earth's atmosphere. Arrow 3 forms the highest layer in Israel's missile defense system, positioned above Arrow 2, David's Sling, and Iron Dome. It has an engagement distance of up to approximately 2,400 kilometers. Arrow 3 uses a kinetic interceptor based on the hit-to-kill concept, destroying targets through direct impact rather than an explosive warhead. It is designed to intercept incoming missiles before their warheads are released. By intercepting early, Arrow 3 reduces the risk of small bombs or submunitions from cluster warheads falling on defended territory. This high-altitude interception also helps to minimize debris in populated or critically defended areas. The system provides protection at a strategic, national level, but each interceptor comes at a significantly higher cost. Iran's rapid missile production and its increasing use of cluster warheads have significantly altered Israel's operational calculations and threat assessments. As a result, Israel now has to choose between the safer but very expensive Arrow 3 interceptor and a cheaper but operationally riskier alternative for missile defense. The cheaper low-altitude interception system would, in many scenarios, allow some of the small submunitions or bombs from the cluster warhead to reach the ground, according to the report. Heavy or excessive use of high-cost interceptors like Arrow 3 early in a conflict could deplete Israel's interceptor inventories before the most critical stages of a potential war. However, relying mainly on cheaper interceptors carries its own risk because some of the cluster submunitions are likely to penetrate the defenses and still detonate. This Israeli dilemma is being driven by fears that Iran has rebuilt and expanded its missile inventory faster than Israeli intelligence and planners initially expected. One assessment cited in the report says Iran produced around 1,000 additional ballistic missiles in the 8 months following the June 2025 war. Many of these newer missiles are equipped with clustered warheads that release dozens of submunitions over wide target area to increase damage and complicate defense. Such payloads are specifically designed to complicate interception efforts and to expand the effective target area, according to defense experts who study missile warfare. In these kinds of scenarios, the altitude at which interception occurs becomes a determining factor for how much destruction can be prevented, experts say. Intercepting outside the atmosphere using Arrow 3 can destroy the missile before the warhead opens, preventing the spread of the cluster payload over Israeli territory, according to experts. The Israeli military said on March 19 that the Air Force is deliberately choosing not to shoot down some incoming Iranian missiles, reflecting a calculated decision about how best to manage Israel's air defense resources during the war. Officials cited by the Times of Israel said the Israeli Air Force is conserving its interceptor stockpile, especially in situations where interception may be less necessary or less efficient. According to that report, the military is in some cases choosing not to intercept missiles carrying cluster warheads, even though those weapons can scatter multiple explosive bomblets over a broad area. Officials said these cluster munitions are less likely to cause major casualties if civilians are inside shelters, even though they can still inflict damage above ground. Israeli military officials said, and I quote, "Israeli Air Force chooses not to shoot down all or some of the bomblets to conserve its stockpile of short-range interceptors." Israeli Air Force was not sparing any effort to defend Israeli civilians, and would work to intercept any threat, but stressed that the bomblets are almost certain not to cause any harm to civilians if they are sheltering in a protected space. Unquote. Amid this, U.S. Patriot missile interceptor system also appears to be failing in the war. The Patriot system was first used in combat to intercept Iraqi Scud missiles during the 1991 Gulf War, in its early anti-missile role. Subsequent independent assessments of that campaign concluded that its real success rate against Scuds was very low, in some studies approaching negligible levels. During the 2003 US-led invasion of Iraq, Patriot units were implicated in several friendly fire incidents, becoming a primary cause of accidental engagements. In that conflict, Patriot batteries mistakenly fired on multiple US and Allied fighter aircraft, leading to aircraft being damaged or destroyed. The systems also failed to prevent drone and missile attacks on Saudi oil facilities in 2019, when sites were struck by Iranian and Yemeni origin systems. Despite these controversies, defense experts note that the United States has continued to market and export Patriot systems globally, leveraging its dominant position in the international arms trade.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.